In a world where shifting into your wolf defines your worth, one girl survives without a transformation, mocked and beaten by the very pack that should protect her. But when ancient power awakens in her veins and the alpha's secret is revealed, those who despised her will learn that sometimes the most dangerous wolves are the ones you never see coming. Hello, my beautiful pack. Oh, it's so wonderful to see you here. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments because I love connecting with you all across the globe. How are you doing today? I hope you're cozy and ready for a story that's going to grab your heart and not let go. Before we dive into Aria's world, have you subscribed to the channel yet? If not, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button right now because we've got so many more shifter romance stories coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single one. Your support means everything to me. Now, let's step into a world where being wolfless is worse than death itself. The stone hit Aria's shoulder blade with enough force to knock her forward into the mud. She didn't cry out. Crying only made them throw harder. Wolfless freak. The voice belonged to Dane, the beta's son, all 16 years of entitled cruelty packed into his shifting form. His eyes glowed amber in the twilight, his wolf dancing just beneath his skin, showing off. Always showing off. My father says you're cursed. Says your mother spread her legs for a rogue and that's why you're broken. Aria pressed her palms into the cold earth, feeling the dampness seep through her threadbare dress. She was 14, small for her age, with silver blonde hair that marked her as different even before they discovered she couldn't shift. Her mother said her hair was beautiful, moonlight made solid. The pack said it was another sign of her wrongness. Get up, curseborn. Dane circled her, his friends spreading out like predators cornering prey. 6 of them tonight. She counted their footsteps, measured their positions. Or are you too weak? Too human? The word human dripped with venom. In the Blackthorn pack, being human was the ultimate insult. Humans were prey, food, lesser beings. And Aria, trapped in her human form at an age when she should have had her first shift, might as well have been livestock. She stood slowly, keeping her eyes down. Submission. That's what kept you alive in a pack when you had no wolf to defend you. Her mother taught her that. Keep your head down, your voice soft, your presence small. Disappear into the background until they forget you exist. But lately, disappearing was getting harder. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Dane grabbed her chin, forcing her head up. His claws extended slightly, pricking her skin. She could smell his wolf, all musk and aggression and teenage arrogance. And then something shifted inside her chest. Not a wolf, she'd stopped hoping for that years ago. This was different. A pull. A pressure. Like the air before lightning strikes. Dane jerked his hand back, eyes widening. What the? The sacred stone behind them, one of the ancient markers that bordered the pack's ritual ground, began to glow. Soft at first, then brighter, pulsing with a blue-white light that had nothing to do with the moon overhead. Witch. One of Dane's friends stumbled backward. She's doing witchcraft. I'm not doing anything. Aria's voice came out stronger than she intended. The pressure in her chest was building, spreading through her veins like liquid starlight. It didn't hurt, but it should have. Something this intense should have been painful. The stone's glow intensified, and now the others were activating too. All 7 stones around the ritual ground, each one blazing with that impossible light, each one responding to something in Aria's blood that even she didn't understand. Make it stop. Dane's bravado cracked. He looked younger suddenly, scared, just a boy faced with something beyond his understanding. Aria wanted to tell him she didn't know how. That whatever this was, it wasn't her choice, wasn't her control. But before she could speak, a howl split the night. Not a normal howl. This one carried authority, commanded attention, made every wolf in hearing distance freeze with instinctive submission. The alpha was calling assembly. Dane and his friends scattered, shifting mid-run into their wolf forms, leaving Aria alone in a circle of glowing stones. She watched them disappear into the forest, felt the strange pressure in her chest finally ease, and wondered what fresh nightmare waited for her now. Because the alpha never called assembly unless something was terribly wrong. She started walking toward the pack house, her feet following a path worn smooth by generations of wolves. The stone's glow faded behind her, but she could still feel their energy, like a second heartbeat in her bones. Around her, pack members emerged from homes and training grounds, all heading in the same direction. They gave her a wide berth, some spitting in her path, others just staring with unconcealed disgust. She was used to it. The hatred was almost comfortable now, predictable. What wasn't predictable was the way Elder Mara watched her pass. The old woman stood in her garden, silver hair braided with ritual beads, eyes sharp as broken glass. She looked at Aria the way a scholar looks at a puzzle, with curiosity instead of contempt. "The stones remember," Elder Mara said softly, probably not meaning for Aria to hear. "Even when we forget, the stones remember bloodlines." Aria's steps faltered, but she didn't stop. Didn't ask what that meant. Asking questions only drew attention, and attention led to pain. The pack house loomed ahead, all rough timber and ancestral carvings, built to house 300 wolves and remind them of their history. Aria had never been allowed inside. Wolf-less pack members, the few that existed, stayed in the outer buildings, the lesser spaces. But tonight, everyone was gathering in the main hall. Everyone, including her. She climbed the wooden steps, feeling eyes track her movement, hearing whispers spread like poison through the crowd. The great door stood open, and inside she could see the Alpha's throne, a massive chair carved from a single oak tree, blessed by moon magic and blood oaths. The Alpha sat there now, and even from a distance, Aria could see something was wrong. He looked older than his 45 years, his dark hair streaked with premature silver, his powerful frame somehow diminished. And when his eyes found hers across the crowded hall, something passed between them. Recognition. Regret. A question that made Aria's world tilt sideways. Because she'd never spoken to the Alpha. Never been close enough to catch his scent or hear his voice. She was nothing to him, less than nothing, just another weak link in his pack. So why was he looking at her like his heart was breaking? Aria's mother found her at the back of the crowd, where the Wolfless and the Omega wolves clustered like forgotten shadows. Sarah Moonwhisper moved with the quiet grace of someone who'd learned to take up as little space as possible, but there was steel beneath her soft exterior. She had to be strong. Raising a wolfless daughter in the Blackthorn pack required the kind of strength that didn't show in muscles or claws. "Stay close to me," Sarah whispered, her hand finding Aria's. Her palm was calloused from years of work in the pack's kitchens, scrubbing floors the ranked wolves wouldn't lower themselves to touch. "Whatever happens tonight, stay close." "Mama," the stones glowed again. Aria kept her voice low, but she couldn't keep the tremor out of it. Dane saw it. Everyone saw it. Sarah's grip tightened, her knuckles going white. "I know, baby. I know. What's happening to me? Why do they react to me like that?" Aria searched her mother's face, looking for answers she'd been denied her whole life. "You always said I was normal, that I just hadn't shifted yet, but this isn't normal. Normal girls don't make sacred stones light up like festival lanterns." "Aria, please." Sarah's green eyes, so like Aria's own, filled with something that looked like panic. "Not here. Not now. Just trust me a little longer." Before Aria could press further, the hall fell silent. The kind of silence that comes when an Alpha commands it, when the power in his blood makes even breathing feel like rebellion. Alpha Cade Blackthorn stood from his throne, and despite whatever illness or injury weakened him, he still commanded the room. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and eyes the color of storm clouds. The Alpha aura radiated from him like heat from a forge, making lesser wolves drop their gazes and bow their heads. But Aria found she could look at him. Found she wanted to. "My pack," his voice carried to every corner of the hall, rich and deep and edged with pain. "I've called you here because we face a threat greater than any we've known. The Ironjaw pack has issued a challenge. They want our territory, our resources, and they're willing to go to war for it." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Ironjaw pack was legendary for their brutality, led by an Alpha who collected territories like trophies and left broken packs in his wake. "Alpha Marcus Ironjaw arrives in 3 days, Cade continued. He's demanded a formal challenge. Alpha, to the death." The murmurs turned to shouts, protests, declarations of loyalty. But Aria noticed something others seemed to miss. The beta, Dane's father Garrett, didn't look surprised. He looked satisfied. And when his eyes swept the crowd and landed on the alpha, there was calculation there, ambition barely concealed. Quiet. Cade's command cracked like a whip. I will face Marcus, as is my right and duty. But if I fall, the pack must have continuity. The bloodline must survive. He paused, and in that pause, Aria felt the world shift beneath her feet. 15 years ago, I loved someone I couldn't claim. Someone outside my arranged mate bond, outside the political alliances that keep packs strong. His voice roughened, became almost human in its vulnerability. I have a child. An heir born of true love, not political necessity. The hall erupted. Wolves shouting questions, demanding names, some howling their outrage that their alpha had kept such a secret. Aria felt her mother's hand clench around hers, felt Sarah begin to pull her backward toward the door. But it was too late. Her name is Aria. Cade's eyes locked on her across the sea of wolves. Aria Moonwhisper. My daughter. My blood. My heir. The world stopped spinning. Or maybe it spun too fast. Aria couldn't tell anymore. Every eye in the hall turned to her, hundreds of wolves staring at the girl they'd tormented, the wolfless freak they'd treated as less than dirt. The alpha's daughter. No, Aria heard herself say, the word barely a whisper. That's not possible. But even as she denied it, pieces clicked into place. Her mother's protective silence. The way Sarah never spoke of Aria's father. The silver blonde hair that matched no one in their family line but appeared in old portraits of the Blackthorn bloodline. The way the sacred stones, attuned to alpha blood, responded to her presence. You liar. Beta Garrett surged forward, his wolf rippling beneath his skin. You expect us to believe that creature carries alpha blood? She can't even shift. She's weak, broken, an insult to everything our pack stands for. She carries my blood. Cade's voice dropped to a growl that made the windows rattle. That makes her stronger than you could ever comprehend, Garrett. The fact that you can't see it proves how little you understand about true power. Then make her shift. Garrett challenged. If she's really your heir, make her prove it. Show us her wolf. The crowd took up the chant. Shift. 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 Aria felt panic claw up her throat. She couldn't shift. She'd tried 1,000 times, cried herself sick over it, begged the moon for just a glimpse of the wolf that should live inside her. She doesn't need to shift, another voice rang out. Elder Mara stepped forward from the Council of Elders, her ritual beads clicking softly. Some of you are old enough to remember the prophecy. The silent heir, who would carry the alpha blood but walk without a wolf. Who would awaken not fangs and fur, but something the packs haven't seen in 500 years. Fairy tales, Garrett spat. You're telling me this pathetic girl is the fulfillment of some ancient legend? I'm telling you that the sacred stones recognize her, Mara said calmly. I'm telling you that tonight, when she stood among them, they blazed brighter than they have since the pack's founding. I'm telling you that alpha bloodlines don't lie, even when wolves do. Cade descended from his throne, moving through the crowd that parted before him like water. He stopped in front of Aria, and up close, she could see the resemblance. The shape of his jaw was hers. The storm cloud eyes that looked back from her mirror every morning were his. I'm sorry, he said softly, and there was such grief in those words that Aria felt something crack in her chest. I'm sorry I couldn't claim you. Sorry I couldn't protect you from what they did. Your mother and I, we thought if we kept you hidden, kept the truth buried, you'd be safe. Safe? Aria's voice shook with 15 years of pain. They beat me. Starved me. Treated me like garbage because I couldn't shift, and you let them. I know. A single tear tracked down the alpha's face. I watched from a distance and it killed me every day. But if the pack knew you were mine, if my enemies knew I had a weakness, they would have murdered you in your cradle. At least this way, you lived. Sarah stepped forward, placing herself between Aria and Cade. You promised me, she said, her voice breaking. You promised me she'd be ready before the truth came out. She doesn't know how to control it, Cade. She doesn't even know what she is. What I am. Aria looked between her parents, these strangers who'd shaped her life with their secrets. What am I, if not wolfless? What am I, if not broken? Cade reached out slowly, carefully, and placed his hand over Aria's heart. Where his palm pressed, that familiar pressure bloomed again, that sensation of lightning about to strike. "You're not broken, daughter," he said. "You're awakening. And when you finally understand what sleeps in your blood, this pack will never mock you again." Outside, a howl split the night. Not from the Blackthorn territory, but from beyond their borders. A challenge howl, brutal and mocking. The Ironjaw pack had arrived early. And they were hunting. The howl came again, closer this time, and with it the sound of wolves crashing through the forest. Not the controlled, disciplined approach of a formal challenge. This was a hunt, wild and vicious, designed to spread terror. "They're attacking the eastern border." A scout burst through the hall doors, blood streaming from a gash on his shoulder. Alpha Marcus brought his entire pack. "They're slaughtering the patrol guards." Chaos erupted. Wolves shifted mid-stride, their clothes tearing as fur and fangs replaced human flesh. The sounds of snarling and shouting filled the hall as warriors prepared for battle. Aria stumbled backward, overwhelmed by the violence suddenly surrounding her. Cade's hand shot out, steadying her. "Sarah, take her to the safe room beneath the hall. The one we discussed." "There are at least 50 Ironjaw wolves out there," Beta Garrett interrupted, already half-shifted, his voice distorted by the change. "We need every fighter. We can't waste warriors protecting some girl who can't even defend herself." "That girl is your future alpha," Cade snarled, his own wolf rising to the surface. His eyes blazed gold, his canines extending. "You will protect her with your life, or I'll rip your throat out myself." Before Garrett could respond, the hall's main doors exploded inward. Wood splintered like matchsticks as 3 massive wolves forced their way inside, their fur dark as pitch, their eyes gleaming with bloodlust. Ironjaw scouts. And they were looking directly at Aria. "The girl," one of them said, his voice barely human through his shifted jaw. "Marcus wants the girl. He smelled alpha blood on the wind and he wants to know why the mighty Blackthorn kept a secret heir hidden like a shameful thing." Over my dead body, Cade moved like lightning, intercepting the lead wolf before it could take 2 steps toward Aria. They collided with bone-crushing force, tumbling across the floor in a tangle of claws and fury. The hall descended into violence. Blackthorn wolves threw themselves at the Ironjaw invaders while others rushed to defend the main doors against the assault outside. Blood splattered across ancient wood. The air filled with the copper scent of it, mixing with the musk of shifted wolves and human fear. Sarah dragged Aria toward a side passage, but 2 more Ironjaw wolves blocked their path. These were bigger, older, their scars speaking of countless battles won. "Nowhere to run, little moon girl," one growled, stalking forward. "Marcus has plans for you. He's going to use that alpha blood to cement his claim over this territory. Whether you cooperate or not." Aria's heart hammered against her ribs. She had no wolf to call on, no claws to defend herself. Just human flesh and bone against creatures designed to kill. But that pressure in her chest was building again, faster than before, hotter. The sacred stones outside began to pulse, their light visible even through the hall's thick walls. And this time Aria didn't try to push the sensation away. She let it rise. "Stay away from my daughter," Sarah's voice carried a strength Aria had never heard before. Her mother stepped forward, placing herself between Aria and the Ironjaw wolves. "You want her, you go through me first." The wolf laughed, a horrible sound. "Gladly." He lunged, claws extended, aiming for Sarah's throat. "No." The word tore from Aria's chest, and with it came light. Pure, blinding, white gold light that exploded from her skin like a shockwave. It hit the Ironjaw wolf mid-leap, slamming him backward into the wall with enough force to crack stone. His companion yelped and scrambled away, his fur smoking where the light had touched him. Aria stared at her hands. They glowed like stars, pulsing with power that definitely wasn't wolf. The pressure in her chest felt like a sun burning, not painful but intense, alive, demanding release. "Impossible," Elder Mara breathed. She stood frozen near the council seats, her ancient eyes wide with wonder. "She's not awakening a wolf. She's awakening the old magic. The first magic, from before the curse split us into human and beast." "What does that mean?" Aria's voice shook as badly as her glowing hands. Around her, wolves from both packs had stopped fighting, staring at her with expressions ranging from fear to awe. "It means," a new voice spoke from the shattered doorway, "that Alpha Cade has been hiding something far more valuable than a simple heir." The wolf that entered was enormous, easily twice the size of any Blackthorn warrior. His fur was iron gray, his eyes cold and calculating. He wore his shift partially, maintaining human posture and speech while keeping his wolf's strength and weapons. Alpha Marcus Ironjaw. And he looked at Aria like she was prey. "A light-bearer," Marcus continued, moving into the hall with the confidence of someone who knew he'd already won. "I thought they were extinct. Hunted down and destroyed centuries ago because they threatened the natural order of pack hierarchy." Cade pulled himself up from the floor, blood dripping from claw marks across his chest. "You will not touch her, Marcus." "Won't I?" Marcus smiled, revealing teeth designed for tearing flesh. "Your pack is surrounded. Your borders are broken. And you're injured, old friend. Past your prime. Meanwhile, I have 50 warriors outside and the most valuable prize the wolf world has seen in 500 years standing right there, glowing like a beacon." He took a step toward Aria. The light around her hands flared brighter, responding to the threat. "Here's my new offer, Cade," Marcus said. "Give me the girl. Let me take her back to Ironjaw territory where she can be properly trained, properly bred to strengthen my bloodline. In exchange, I'll let your pack live. You can even keep your precious territory." "She's not a bargaining chip," Cade growled. "She's whatever I say she is once I claim her." Marcus's eyes never left Aria. "What do you say, little light-bearer? Come willingly and save all these wolves who treated you like garbage your entire life? Or refuse and watch me slaughter them one by one, starting with your mother?" Aria felt the weight of every eye in the hall. The pack members who'd tormented her, who'd called her cursed and broken and worthless. They stood bleeding and battered, waiting to see if the girl they'd despised would save them or let them die. Her mother, who'd sacrificed everything to keep her safe. Her father, who'd loved her from a distance because claiming her would have painted a target on her back. And this monster, offering her a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. The light around Aria's hands pulsed stronger, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel weak. She felt dangerous. "You want to know what I say?" Aria stepped forward, away from her mother's protective stance, away from her father's desperate reach. "I say you've made a mistake, Alpha Marcus." "Have I?" He looked amused. "You think I'm a prize to be won. A weapon to be claimed." The light was spreading now, running up her arms like liquid starlight. "But I'm not some helpless girl anymore. I don't know what I am exactly, but I know one thing for certain." The sacred stones outside blazed so bright they could be seen for miles. Every wolf in the hall felt the power shift, felt something ancient and terrifying wake up in Aria's blood. "I'm not going with you," Aria said. "And if you try to take me, I'll burn your entire pack to ash." Marcus's smile never wavered, but his eyes changed. Calculation replaced amusement. "Then I suppose," he said softly, "we do this the hard way." The Ironjaw wolves hit the hall like a tsunami of fur and fangs. They poured through windows and doorways, a coordinated assault designed to overwhelm through sheer numbers. The Blackthorn warriors fought back with desperate ferocity, but they were outnumbered and caught off guard. Aria's light flared instinctively as an Ironjaw wolf lunged toward her, and the creature yelped, veering away as it burned. But the power flickering around her hands felt unstable, unpredictable. She had no idea how to control it, how to aim it, how to make it do more than react to immediate danger. "Fall back to the inner chambers." Cade's alpha command cut through the chaos. "Protect the non-combatants." Sarah grabbed Aria's arm, pulling her toward a narrow corridor that led deeper into the pack house. Around them, wolves tangled in brutal combat, the sounds of tearing flesh and breaking bones echoing off stone walls. Blood splattered across the floor, making it slick and treacherous. "Keep moving." Elder Mara appeared beside them, surprisingly spry for her age. She pressed a small leather pouch into Aria's hands. "Wolfsbane and silver dust. If they corner you, throw it in their eyes. It won't kill them, but it'll give you time to run." "I can't just run," Aria protested, even as her mother dragged her further from the battle. "These wolves are dying because of me. Because Marcus wants what I am." These wolves spent 14 years making your life miserable, Mara said bluntly. You owe them nothing. But your father, he sacrificed everything to keep you alive. Don't waste that sacrifice by playing hero before you understand your own power. They reached a heavy oak door reinforced with iron bands. Sarah pulled it open, revealing stone steps leading down into darkness. The safe room Kate had mentioned, hidden beneath the packhouse foundations. But before they could descend, a wolf crashed through the corridor behind them. Not Ironjaw. This one wore blackthorn colors, and Aria recognized him even in shifted form. Dane. The beta's son who'd tormented her just hours ago. He shifted back to human, blood streaming from a gash across his ribs. They're breaking through the eastern defense. My father sent me to. He looked at Aria, his expression twisted with emotions he clearly didn't know how to process. Shame. Resentment. Fear. To protect you. You? Aria couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. You've spent years trying to break me. Yeah, well. Dane wouldn't meet her eyes. Turns out you're the Alpha's heir and I'm just the Beta's disappointing son. Story of my life, getting shown up by the girl I thought was beneath me. This isn't a competition, boy, Mara snapped. Can you fight or not? I can fight. Dane's jaw set with determination. My father might be a power-hungry snake, but I'm not him. If the Alpha says protect her, I protect her. A howl echoed down the corridor, close enough to make the walls vibrate. Marcus's voice, calling out in a tone that managed to sound both civilized and utterly savage. Little Lightbearer. Hiding won't save your pack. Every minute you cower down there, another blackthorn wolf dies. Is that really what you want? All this death on your conscience? Aria's hands clenched, the light pulsing brighter. He's right. I can't hide while people die for me. You can and you will, Sarah's voice was steel. You're 14 years old, baby. You've been awakened for all of 2 hours. You don't know how to use this power, and Marcus will kill you or worse if you face him now. Your mother's right, a new voice spoke from the shadows of the stairwell. A figure emerged, tall and lean, with copper-red hair and eyes that gleamed like amber in the dim light. He moved with a predator's grace, but something about him felt different from the other wolves. Calmer. More controlled. Who are you? Dane shifted partially, ready to fight. Cashin Reed. I'm a tracker from the Northwood Pack, and I've been watching Aria for 3 months. He held up his hands in a peaceful gesture. Before you attack, I'm here to help. Kate hired me to protect his daughter if her identity was ever revealed. My father hired you? Aria studied him, trying to understand. Why didn't you do anything? You watched them hurt me and you did nothing? I did what I was paid to do. Made sure none of the serious attacks succeeded, made sure you survived the worst of it without you knowing I was there. Cashin's expression remained neutral, professional. Kate wanted you to grow up strong, not dependent on constant protection. He wanted you to survive on your own merit. That's a terrible plan, Dane muttered. Agreed, Cashin said. But it's not my job to question Alpha decisions. My job right now is to get Aria out of this pack house alive. There's a tunnel system beneath the safe room that leads to the old forest caves. We can hide there until the battle's over. And abandon my father? Aria shook her head. Abandon the pack? The pack will survive or it won't, Cashin said bluntly. But you're the only light bearer in 5 centuries. You're irreplaceable. Marcus knows it, Kate knows it, and now you need to know it too. This isn't about pride or courage. This is about survival. Another crash from above, followed by screams. The sounds of battle were getting closer. We're out of time, Mara said. Sarah, take her down. Dane, Cashin, guard the entrance. I'll seal it behind you with a warding spell. You're not coming? Aria looked at the old woman who'd shown her more kindness in one night than the entire pack had in 14 years. Someone needs to maintain the wards and keep Marcus from tracking you through the stones. Mara smiled, sad and knowing. Besides, I'm too old to run anymore. This is where I make my stand. Elder Mara. Go, child. Survive. Learn what you are. Then come back and show these fools what real power looks like. Mara's eyes gleamed with something fierce and proud. The prophecy said the silent heir would bring either salvation or destruction. I'm betting on salvation, but either way, it's going to be spectacular. Sarah pulled Aria toward the stairs, but the girl resisted, looking back at the corridor where sounds of violence grew ever louder. Somewhere up there, Cade was fighting for his life. Fighting for his pack. Fighting to give her time to escape. I can help him, Aria insisted. This power, whatever it is, will get you killed if you don't learn to control it, Cashin interrupted. He moved to the doorway, his body tense and ready. I've seen lightbearers before, in ancient texts and old stories. You think you're dangerous now? You're barely sparking. If you tried to face Marcus without training, you'd burn out like a candle in a hurricane. Or worse, you'd lose control and kill everyone in the hall, friend and enemy alike. The words hit like a slap. Aria looked at her glowing hands, at the unstable light flickering across her skin. He was right. She had no control. No understanding. Just raw power that responded to emotion and fear. How long, she asked. How long to learn control? Weeks. Maybe months. Cashin's expression softened slightly. I know it's not what you want to hear. But it's the truth. A massive impact shook the entire hall above them. Dust rained from the ceiling. Someone was winning up there, and Aria had a horrible feeling it wasn't the Blackthorn wolves. All right, she said finally, the word tasting like failure. We run. We hide. But we come back. We train, and then we come back and we end this. That's my girl, Sarah whispered, pride and pain mixing in her voice. They descended into darkness, leaving Elder Mara to seal the door behind them. The last thing Aria saw was the old woman's face, peaceful and determined, as she began chanting words in a language older than the packs themselves. The tunnel smelled of earth and stone and ancient secrets. Cashin led the way with confidence, clearly having scouted this route before. Dane brought up the rear, limping slightly from his injuries but refusing to slow down. And Aria walked between them, her hands still glowing faintly in the darkness, wondering if running made her smart or just a coward. Above, the battle raged on. And with every step away from it, Aria felt a piece of her heart tear free. But Cashin was right about one thing. She would come back. And when she did, Marcus Ironjaw would learn exactly what a lightbearer could do. The caves were older than the packs themselves, carved by water and time into a labyrinth of chambers that went deeper than anyone had fully mapped. Cashin led them to a central cavern where ancient carvings covered the walls, symbols that glowed faintly in response to Aria's presence. This place, Sarah breathed, running her fingers over the markings. I've never seen anything like it. Few have, Cashin said, lighting a torch from his pack. The flames cast dancing shadows across walls covered in images of wolves and humans and something in between. These are the old places, from before the curse. Before we were forced to choose between human logic and wolf instinct. Aria moved closer to the carvings, drawn by something she couldn't name. The symbols seemed to pulse in rhythm with the light in her blood. One image in particular caught her attention, a figure standing between two worlds, human on one side, wolf on the other, with light radiating from their chest like a star. The first lightbearer, Cashin said quietly, coming to stand beside her. According to legend, they could bridge the gap between both forms. They didn't need to shift because they carried the essence of both within them always. Human wisdom and wolf strength, unified instead of divided. What happened to them? Aria traced the carved figure with trembling fingers. The packs happened. Cashin's voice held bitter anger. Once wolves learned to shift, to access their animal power at will, they saw lightbearers as a threat. Why follow someone who wouldn't shift when you could follow someone with fangs and claws? So they hunted the lightbearers down. Killed most of them. Drove the rest into hiding until the bloodline nearly vanished. Nearly, Dane spoke up from where he'd collapsed against the cave wall. But not completely. Obviously. My mother, Aria turned to Sarah. Did you know? About what I was? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I suspected. When you were born, the midwife saw the light in your eyes, just for a moment. She wanted to report it to the elders, but Cade paid her to stay silent. We thought maybe it was a fluke, maybe it wouldn't develop. We hoped you'd just be wolfless, which was safer than being what you actually are. Safer? The word tasted like ash. I've been beaten, starved, humiliated my entire life because I couldn't shift. How was that safe? Because you're alive. Kate's voice echoed from the tunnel entrance. Aria spun to find her father limping into the cavern, his clothing torn and soaked with blood. Wounds covered his body, deep claw marks that would have killed a lesser wolf. Behind him, 3 other Blackthorn warriors stumbled in, equally battered. Papa. The word slipped out before Aria could stop it, years of longing compressed into 2 syllables. The hall? Cashin demanded. Marcus? Retreated. For now. Cade lowered himself to the ground with a grunt of pain. He took what he wanted, made his point. Proved he could breach our defenses whenever he chooses. Now he's circling, waiting for me to bleed out or challenge him formally. You're in no condition to fight. Sarah moved to examine his wounds, her hands gentle but efficient. These need treatment. Real treatment, not field dressing. I'll heal. Eventually. Cade's eyes found Aria. But Marcus knows about you now. Knows what you are. He won't stop until he claims you or destroys you. Why? Aria demanded. Why is a light-bearer so valuable to him? Because light-bearers can do something no alpha can, Elder Mara's voice carried from the tunnel. The old woman entered, leaning heavily on a staff, her ritual beads scorched and blackened. They can break mate bonds. Forge new ones. Control the very instincts that drive pack hierarchy. I survived, Mara said with a dry smile. Barely. The hall is lost, but most of our pack escaped to the outer territories. We'll regroup, but we need time. She approached Aria, her ancient eyes serious. Child, you need to understand what Marcus truly wants. His mate, the Ironjaw Luna, is dying. Some say poisoned, others say cursed. But she's fading, and with her goes his legitimate claim to leadership. Pack law says if an alpha's mate dies, he must find a new one within the year or face challenges from within his own ranks. So he needs a new mate, Dane said. Why not just claim one? He's powerful enough. Because the old families won't accept just anyone, Mara explained. They want pure bloodlines. Ancient power. And a light-bearer mate? She looked at Aria. That would cement his rule for generations. Any children he sired with you would be unstoppable. The cave seemed to spin around Aria. He wants to force me into a mate bond? I'm 14. You're also immortal, Cashin said quietly. Or close to it. Lightbearers age differently than normal wolves. You'll reach maturity around 16 and stay that way for centuries. Marcus knows this. He's willing to wait a year or 2 if it means securing that kind of power. Over my dead body, Cade growled. That can be arranged, a new voice spoke from the shadows. Beta Garrett emerged from a side tunnel, and he wasn't alone. A dozen Blackthorn warriors stood with him, but their postures were all wrong. Aggressive. Threatening. Not defending their alpha but confronting him. Garrett, Cade struggled to his feet despite his injuries. What is this? This is a coup, Garrett said simply. You're weak, Cade. You had a daughter for 15 years, let her be abused by the pack, and now you've brought war to our doorstep. The council has voted. You're unfit to lead. The council, Mara said icily, consists of 3 elders, and I'm one of them. We've voted on nothing. The old council is dissolved, Garrett smiled, cold and calculating. I've formed a new one. Warriors who understand that strength matters more than sentiment. And we've decided that the best way to save this pack is to give Marcus what he wants. He looked at Aria. We give him the girl. The warriors who'd entered with Cade moved to defend him, but they were wounded and outnumbered. Dane shifted to his wolf form, positioning himself between Garrett and Aria, but his father just laughed. My own son, protecting the freak he used to torment. How touching. Garrett's eyes glowed as his wolf rose. Stand down, Dane. This isn't personal. This is survival. This is betrayal, Dane snarled, his voice distorted by his partial shift. You're selling her like livestock. I'm saving our pack. Garrett roared. If we hand her over peacefully, Marcus will leave us our territory, our lives, our freedom. We sacrifice one girl and save 300 wolves. The math is simple. The math, Cade said, his alpha power radiating despite his injuries, is that you're a traitor and a coward. And when I'm done bleeding, I'm going to rip your throat out. You're not going to get the chance. Garrett gestured, and his warriors moved forward. Cashin drew 2 silver daggers, his stance professional and deadly. Sarah stepped in front of Aria, weaponless but fierce. Mara began chanting, her staff glowing with protective magic. And Aria felt the light in her blood surge, responding to her fear and fury. It wanted out. Wanted to burn and destroy everything that threatened her. Stop, she shouted, and her voice carried a power that made every wolf in the cavern freeze. Just stop. The light exploded from her skin, not in a focused blast but in a wave that washed over everyone in the cave. Wolves yelped and stumbled back. The ancient carvings blazed so bright they hurt to look at. And in that moment of blinding radiance, Aria felt something shift inside her. Not a wolf awakening. Something else. Something that let her feel every wolf in the cavern, their emotions, their loyalties, their fears laid bare like open books. She could feel Garrett's ambition, sour and desperate. Could feel Dane's conflicted loyalty, his shame and determination tangled together. Could feel her father's love, fierce and aching with years of regret. And she could feel the mate bonds, the mystical ties that connected wolves to each other. Could see them like golden threads, some strong, some frayed, some corrupted by time and betrayal. Including one that connected Garrett to someone outside the caves. Someone waiting in the forest with Ironjaw scouts. You made a deal, Aria said, her voice echoing with power. You made a deal with Marcus before he ever attacked. You told him about me. You let him breach our defenses. Garrett's face went pale. You sold us out. Cade's words were barely human, his wolf rising with murderous intent. You sold out your own pack. I saved us. Garrett insisted. Marcus would have destroyed everything. This way, we survive. No, Aria said, and the light around her condensed, focused, became something deliberate instead of reactive. This way, you betray everything the packs stand for. And I won't let you. She reached out with senses she hadn't known she possessed, found the golden thread connecting Garrett to his mate, to his son, to his pack. And she pulled. Garrett screamed. His wolves stumbled, clutching their chests as if something vital had been torn away. The beta fell to his knees, his eyes wide with horror. What did you do? He gasped. What did you do to me? I severed your pack bonds, Aria said, and her voice held no mercy. You're Omega now. Packless. Alone. That's what traitors deserve. The light faded, leaving Aria swaying on her feet, exhausted but transformed. She'd used her power deliberately for the first time. Had shaped it, controlled it, made it obey her will. And in doing so, had just declared war on every rule the packs held sacred. The silence that followed Aria's display of power was suffocating. Every wolf in the cavern stared at her with expressions ranging from awe to absolute terror. Even Cade looked shaken, his alpha authority suddenly seeming fragile compared to what his daughter had just done. Garrett remained on his knees, his face twisted in agony. Being severed from pack bonds was a fate worse than death for most wolves. It meant isolation, madness, a slow decay of everything that made them whole. The wolves who'd stood with him backed away, fear evident in their eyes. Aria, Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Baby, what have you done? What I had to. But even as Aria said it, she felt the weight of her action settling on her shoulders. The power that had felt so right moments ago now felt heavy, dangerous. She'd just destroyed a man's entire existence with a thought. You didn't have to do that, Cashin said quietly. His professional mask had slipped, revealing something closer to concern. You could have restrained him, knocked him unconscious. Breaking pack bonds, that's the kind of power that terrifies wolves. That makes them see you as a threat instead of a savior. He sold us out, Aria protested, but her voice wavered. He was going to hand me over to Marcus. And now every wolf who witnessed this will spread the word, Mara said, her tone grave. By morning, every pack in the region will know that Cade's daughter can sever bonds with a thought. Do you understand what that means? Aria looked around at the faces surrounding her. Even Dane, who'd been defending her moments ago, had taken a step back. The warriors who'd entered with Cade watched her like she was a bomb that might explode at any moment. It means they'll fear you, Cade said heavily. And fear makes wolves do terrible things. A howl echoed from outside the caves, distant but unmistakable. Marcus's voice, calling a challenge not to Cade this time, but to the entire Blackthorn pack. He knows. Cashin moved to the cave entrance, listening. Garrett must have had a signal set up. When he didn't return with Aria, Marcus assumed the worst. The worst is about to get much worse. Mara closed her eyes, her expression pained. I can feel it. He's not just bringing his own pack now. He's called in allies. The Blood Moon pack from the south. The Shadowcrest pack from the mountains. They're converging on our territory. 3 packs against 1, Dane said hoarsely. We're finished. Not if we run, one of Cade's warriors suggested. Alpha, we can scatter. Disappear into the wilderness. Regroup somewhere far from here. And abandon our ancestral lands? Cade's voice hardened. Never. This territory has belonged to Blackthorn wolves for 10 generations. I won't be the alpha who loses it. You won't be the alpha who loses it, Garrett suddenly laughed, a broken, hollow sound. You'll be the alpha who dies defending it. And your precious daughter will be claimed anyway, except now she'll have no pack to return to. No home. Nothing but the memory of everyone who died because you were too proud to surrender. Cade moved faster than his injuries should have allowed, his hand closing around Garrett's throat. You don't get to speak. You don't get opinions. You're nothing now. Cade, stop, Sarah pulled at his arm. He's not worth it. We need to think clearly. But Aria could see her father wasn't thinking clearly. The blood loss, the betrayal, the impossible situation, it was all crashing down on him. The mighty alpha who'd kept so many secrets was breaking under their weight. There's another option, Aria said, her voice cutting through the tension. I could go to Marcus. Willingly. Absolutely not, Cade released Garrett and rounded on his daughter. I didn't sacrifice 15 years to watch you walk into that monster's hands. If I go, he leaves the pack alone. Isn't that what Garrett promised? Aria looked at the broken beta, who nodded miserably. Marcus gets what he wants, and the Blackthorn pack survives. As slaves, Cashin interjected. You think Marcus will honor that deal once he has you? He'll use you to control every pack in the region. Your ability to break and forge bonds? He'll turn you into a weapon. Force you to destroy anyone who opposes him. Then what do we do? Aria's voice rose, frustration and fear mixing into something explosive. Tell me. Because from where I'm standing, every choice leads to death and destruction. The light flickered around her hands again, unstable, responding to her emotional turmoil. The cave walls trembled, small stones falling from the ceiling. Aria, breathe, Sarah reached for her daughter, but Aria pulled away. Don't tell me to breathe. Don't tell me to calm down. The light was spreading now, crawling up her arms. Everyone wants something from me. Marcus wants to own me. The pack wants me to save them. You want me to be strong. But I'm 14. I'm just a girl who couldn't shift, and now I'm supposed to what? Start a war? Destroy packs? Become some kind of monster? You're not a monster, Dane said quietly. He stepped forward despite his obvious fear. You're scared. I get it. I've been scared of you my whole life, if I'm being honest. Scared of how you survived everything I did to you. Scared of the strength that took. He stood in front of her now, close enough that her unstable light touched his skin, making him wince but not pulling away. I was a coward who hurt you because hurting you made me feel strong. But you? You're actually strong. Strong enough to do what needs to be done, whatever that is. And I'll stand with you. Even if it kills me. Because that's what I should have done from the beginning. His words, simple and honest, cut through Aria's panic. The light around her steadied, pulling back from its dangerous expansion. We can't win this fight, she said, but calmer now. Not today. Maybe not ever. Then we change the game, Mara said. We stop playing by pack rules and start using Lightbearer rules. What does that mean? Kate asked. It means Aria needs training. Real training, not the fumbling attempts we've managed in the last few hours. Mara looked at Cashin. You said you've studied Lightbearers. Where would ancient texts be kept? Where could we find real knowledge about what she is? Cashin was quiet for a long moment. There's a place. The Archive of Broken Things, hidden in the Deadlands where no pack claims territory. It's supposedly protected by the last surviving Lightbearer from the Purges. Supposedly? Sarah repeated. You mean you don't know for sure? No one knows for sure. Most wolves think it's a myth. Cashin met Aria's eyes. But if it exists, if there's really a Lightbearer elder living there, they could teach you everything. How to control your power. How to use it without destroying yourself or everyone around you. How far? Aria asked. 3 days hard travel. Through territory controlled by packs that would kill us on sight if they found out what you are. Then we don't let them find out, Aria said. She looked at her father, at the man who'd loved her from a distance and paid such a terrible price for it. Papa, I need to do this. I need to learn what I am before I can protect anyone. It's too dangerous, Cade protested, but his voice lacked conviction. He knew as well as anyone that staying here meant death. Everything's dangerous now, Aria said. At least this danger comes with hope. Another howl from outside, closer this time. Multiple voices joining Marcus's call. The alliance of packs was gathering, preparing for a final assault. We're out of time, Cashin said. If we're going, it needs to be now. While they're focused on the main pack house. Cade looked at his daughter, and Aria saw something break behind his eyes. The acceptance that he couldn't protect her anymore. That she had to walk into danger while he stayed behind to face his own. Take her, he said to Cashin. Keep her safe. Teach her to control this power. And when she's ready, he looked at Aria with fierce pride. Come back and show them what a true alpha looks like. What about you? Aria demanded. What about the pack? I'll buy you time. Draw Marcus's attention, make him think you're still here. Cade managed a smile despite his pain. I'm not dead yet, daughter. And I've got a few tricks left. Sarah moved to Aria's side, her decision clear without words. Where her daughter went, she would follow. Dane, Garrett's broken voice called out. Son, don't do this. Don't follow her. She'll destroy you like she destroyed me. Dane looked at his father, at the man who'd raised him to value strength above all else. Then he looked at Aria, the girl he'd tormented, who'd somehow become the most important person in their world. Maybe, Dane said. But at least I'll die knowing I chose right for once. He shifted to his wolf form, ready to travel. Mara pressed a small pouch into Aria's hands. Protection charms. They won't stop a determined attack, but they'll mask your scent, make you harder to track. Come with us, Aria urged the old woman. My place is here, with the pack. Someone needs to organize the defense, and Kate will be too busy playing hero. Mara cupped Aria's face with ancient hands. Besides, I'm old. I've seen enough. But you? You're just beginning. Go find your destiny, little Lightbearer. Show the world what we lost when we hunted your kind to near extinction. The howls outside were deafening now. The attack would come any moment. Cashin moved to a hidden passage deeper in the caves. This way. It leads to the northern border, away from the main assault. Aria took one last look at her father, at the alpha who'd loved her in secret and was about to sacrifice everything to give her a chance. I'll come back, she promised. I'll learn. I'll get strong. And I'll end this. I know you will, Cade said. You're my daughter. You're a Blackthorn. And you're something the world hasn't seen in 5 centuries. Go show them why Lightbearers were feared. Aria, Sarah, Dane in his wolf form, and Cashin disappeared into the darkness of the passage. Behind them, they heard Cade organizing the remaining warriors, heard Elder Mara's voice raised in protective chants. And above it all, they heard Marcus's triumphant howl as the three-pack alliance descended on the Blackthorn territory like a killing storm. Aria ran through the darkness, leaving behind everything she'd ever known, heading toward a legendary place that might not even exist. It was the darkest hour. But somewhere in that darkness, dawn was waiting. The Deadlands earned their name honestly. 3 days of travel through territory so barren that even the hardiest wolves avoided it, and Aria understood why no pack claimed this wasteland. The ground was ash-gray and cracked, the trees skeletal and twisted, as if something had drained the life from the very earth. "Are you sure this is right?" Sarah asked, her voice hoarse from lack of water. They'd rationed carefully, but supplies were running low. "We haven't seen a single sign of civilization." "That's the point," Cashin said, studying a crude map he'd drawn from memory. "The archive of broken things exists in a place wolves instinctively avoid. Somewhere our nature rejects." Dane, who'd stayed in wolf form for most of the journey, finally shifted back. He looked thinner, exhausted, his young face lined with worry. "I can't feel the moon here." "Can you?" He looked at Cashin. "It's like we've walked outside the world our wolves understand." Aria felt it too. Not the absence of the moon's pull, since she'd never had that connection, but something else. A hollowness in her chest where the light usually burned. Ever since leaving the caves, her power had felt distant, muted, as if the Deadlands themselves were suppressing it. "Maybe we should turn back," Sarah suggested, maternal concern overriding everything else. "Aria, you look pale. This place isn't good for you." "Nothing about this situation is good for me, Mama." Aria kept walking, forcing her tired legs to move. "But going back means walking into Marcus's hands. At least here, we have a chance." They crested a ridge, and the landscape changed abruptly. Below them, hidden in a valley that shouldn't exist in this wasteland, was a garden. Not wild and overgrown, but carefully tended, with plants that glowed faintly in the perpetual twilight of the Deadlands. And in the center of that impossible garden stood a structure made of white stone that seemed to generate its own light. "The archive," Cashin breathed. "It's real." They descended carefully, aware that something powerful enough to create life in this dead place could destroy them without effort. As they entered the garden, Aria felt her power stir, responding to whatever magic sustained the sanctuary. "Welcome, little spark." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, ancient and amused. I wondered how long it would take for another light-bearer to find their way to me. A figure materialized on the archive steps. She appeared as an old woman, but her eyes held the weight of centuries. Her hair was pure white, but not from age. It glowed like starlight, just like Aria's. And when she smiled, it was the expression of someone who'd waited a very long time for this moment. "Who are you?" Aria asked, though something in her blood already knew the answer. "I am Lyra. The last of the original Lightbearers. The one who survived the purges by hiding in a place wolves fear." She descended the steps with fluid grace. "And you are Aria Blackthorn, daughter of an alpha who loved a human woman, carrier of a bloodline I thought had been extinguished. You know me? I've been watching you through the sacred stones. They're connected to places like this, anchors of old magic." Lyra circled them, studying each member of their small group. A mother who sacrificed everything. A tracker who studies what he should fear. And a young wolf who's learning that cruelty is a choice, not a destiny. "You've chosen your companions well. Can you help her?" Sarah stepped forward. "Can you teach her to control what she is?" "I can teach her what she is," Lyra corrected. "Control comes from understanding. But first, you need to see the truth you've been running from." She gestured, and the air between them shimmered. Images formed, showing the Blackthorn territory. The pack house burning. Wolves fighting desperately against overwhelming numbers. And in the center of it all, Cade standing alone against Marcus and his alliance. "No," Aria whispered, watching her father take blow after blow, his blood staining the earth. "We have to go back. We have to help him." "You'd die," Lyra said flatly. "Your power is awakened but untrained. You'd be a candle trying to hold back a forest fire." "I don't care. He's my father. And he's buying you time with his life." Lyra's voice softened slightly. "Time you're wasting watching instead of learning." Do you want his sacrifice to mean something, or would you rather throw it away on a doomed rescue attempt? The images shifted, showing Marcus standing over Cade's broken body. Yield, the Ironjaw Alpha commanded. Tell me where your daughter is, and I'll let your pack live. Cade laughed, blood bubbling from his lips. She's beyond your reach now. Learning what she truly is. And when she returns, you'll wish you'd never heard the name Lightbearer. Marcus snarled and raised his claws for a killing blow. Stop. Aria couldn't watch anymore. The images dissolved, but the damage was done. Her father was dying, and she was here, safe, while he paid the price for her existence. Now you understand, Lyra said. The weight of what you are. The cost others pay for your power. Every Lightbearer learns this lesson eventually. We don't choose to be weapons. The world makes us weapons by refusing to let us be anything else. Then teach me, Aria's voice cracked with grief and determination. Teach me to be the weapon they fear. Teach me to make Marcus regret every choice that led him to my father's throat. Vengeance is a beginning, Lyra acknowledged. But it won't sustain you. You need a better reason to master this power. What reason could be better than protecting the people I love? Lyra smiled, and there was something fierce in that expression. Now you're asking the right questions. Come inside. All of you. What I teach her, you'll need to understand. Because when Aria Blackthorn returns to the wolf packs, everything will change. The archive doors opened, revealing a vast interior that couldn't possibly fit inside the modest exterior. Shelves stretched impossibly high, filled with books and scrolls and objects that pulsed with magic. But what caught Aria's attention was the training circle in the center, marked with the same symbols that covered the cave walls where she'd first truly used her power. We don't have much time, Cashin said, looking back toward the direction they'd come. Marcus will eventually track us here. Let him try, Lyra said dismissively. This place exists outside pack law, outside wolf territory. It's protected by magic older than his oldest ancestor. But you're right about time. Cade won't last more than another day. Maybe two if he's stubborn. Then teach me fast, Aria said, stepping into the training circle. The symbols flared to life around her feet. Fast lessons create dangerous students, Lyra warned. But I suppose we have no choice. Very well. Lesson 1, Understanding what you are. Lightbearers aren't failed wolves, Aria. We're what wolves were meant to be before the curse. What curse? Dane asked. The one that split humanity into two forms. Human and beast, logic and instinct, forever divided. Lyra began walking around the circle, and with each step, the symbols grew brighter. Wolves think shifting is power. It's actually a limitation. You're trapped between two halves, never fully one or the other. Lightbearers are whole. We carry both aspects unified, which makes us stronger than either form alone. She stopped in front of Aria. The light you feel isn't just power. It's connection. You touched it when you broke Garrett's bonds. You felt every wolf in that cave, didn't you? Their emotions, their loyalties, their very essence. Aria nodded. That's because bonds aren't just mystical ties. They're manifestations of pack consciousness, the collective will that holds wolves together. And you can see them, touch them, reshape them. Lyra's eyes glowed white. But that's just the beginning. Lightbearers can do so much more. She raised her hand, and suddenly Aria could see light everywhere. Threads of it connecting Sarah to her, connecting Dane to his distant pack, connecting Cashin to his own complicated loyalties. The entire world was woven together with these luminous bonds. We can see the truth of things, Lyra continued. The connections that bind the world together. And where we see them, we can change them. Show me, Aria said. Show me how to use this. How to save my father. How to stop Marcus. Saving your father will require more than power, Lyra said seriously. It will require you to make a choice no Lightbearer wants to make. To forge a bond so strong it can anchor a dying wolf to life itself. But bonds like that come with a price. They tie you together, permanently. His pain becomes yours. His death could kill you. I don't care, Aria said immediately. You should. Because the bond I'm describing isn't just any bond. Lyra's expression was grave. It's a mate bond. The deepest connection wolves know. And once forged, it cannot be easily broken. You'd be tied to your father not as family, but as something more. Something that would sustain his life but change the nature of your relationship forever. There has to be another way, Sarah said desperately. There is, Lyra looked at Dane. She could forge that bond with someone else. Someone young and strong enough to share the burden of her power. Someone whose life isn't currently draining away in a pool of blood. Dane's eyes widened as he understood. You mean me? A mate bond between you and Aria would create a power anchor. You'd share her abilities, help her control them. And together, you'd be strong enough to face Marcus and his alliance. Lyra looked between them. But it's not a decision to make lightly. Mate bonds are supposed to grow from love, not desperation. Aria looked at Dane, the boy who'd tormented her, who'd chosen to stand with her when it mattered. He met her gaze steadily, and she could see the fear there, but also determination. I know I don't deserve this, Dane said quietly. I know I hurt you, made your life worse when I should have protected you. But if this is how I can make it right, if this is how we save your father and stop my father's betrayal from destroying everything, then I'll do it. No hesitation. Dane, Aria started. You don't have to love me, he interrupted. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for a chance to be what I should have been from the beginning. Your ally. Your shield. Your partner in this fight. Aria felt the weight of the choice pressing down on her. Save her father by tying herself to him forever, or accept Dane's offer and forge a bond with someone she barely knew, someone who'd caused her so much pain. But as she stood there, feeling the threads of light connecting them all, she realized Lyra was right. Sometimes the only way forward was to change the bonds that held you. Teach us, Aria said, reaching out to take Dane's hand. Teach us how to forge a mate bond. And then teach us how to end this war. Lyra smiled, and in that smile was approval and sadness. Very well. But remember, once this bond is forged, there's no going back. You'll be connected for life. His strength becomes yours. Your pain becomes his. You'll be truly one. I understand, both Aria and Dane said together. And in the heart of the Deadlands, in an archive that existed outside wolf law, two young wolves prepared to become something the packs hadn't seen in centuries. A bonded light-bearer pair. The true beginning of Marcus Ironjaw's end. The mate bond ceremony was nothing like the pack rituals Aria had witnessed from a distance. No flowers, no witnesses, no celebration. Just Lyra drawing symbols in the air with light, her voice speaking words in a language older than wolf memory. Stand in the circle, Lyra instructed. Face each other. This bond requires absolute honesty. You must open yourselves completely, no shields, no secrets. The light will see everything you are and judge if you're compatible. Aria and Dane stepped into the glowing circle. Up close, she could see how young he really was. 16, barely older than her, trying to be brave despite the fear in his eyes. I need to say something first, Dane said. Before we do this, before we're connected forever, you need to know the truth. I hurt you because I was jealous. You survived without a wolf, without strength, without anything the pack valued, and you were still standing. Still defiant. It made me hate myself, so I made you the target instead. I know, Aria said quietly. I felt it when I touched the bonds that night. Your shame, your self-hatred. You projected it onto me. And now I'm asking you to tie yourself to that. To me. Forever. His laugh was bitter. Some mate I'll make. Maybe, Aria said. Or maybe we'll make each other better. Maybe that's what bonds are supposed to do. Lyra began the ritual. Light flowed from her hands, wrapping around Aria and Dane like luminous ropes. It probed, searching, exposing every hidden corner of their souls. Aria felt Dane's memories flood into her. His father's constant disappointment. The pressure to be perfect, to be strong, to never show weakness. The moment he'd first hurt her and felt powerful instead of powerless. And he felt hers. The loneliness of being wolfless. The nights crying herself to sleep. The love of a mother who couldn't protect her from pack cruelty. The secret hope that someday, somehow, she'd prove she was worth something. The light intensified, and suddenly Aria could feel Dane's wolf. Not as something foreign, but as part of herself. His strength flowed into her veins, and her light flowed into his. They were merging, becoming something greater than either could be alone. "Accept the bond," Lyra commanded. "Speak the words." "I accept," Aria gasped, feeling Dane's heartbeat sync with hers. "I accept," Dane echoed, his eyes blazing with light that shouldn't exist in a normal wolf. The bond snapped into place like a key turning in a lock. Power exploded through both of them, so intense that Sarah and Cashin had to shield their eyes. When the light finally faded, Aria and Dane stood changed. Aria's hair glowed brighter, white gold and radiant. Her eyes held starlight. But most striking was the mark on her shoulder, a symbol that matched the one now burning on Dane's chest. The mate bond, visible and undeniable. Dane looked at his hands, watching light dance across his skin. "I can feel everything. The bonds, the connections. I can see what you see. And I can feel your wolf," Aria said in wonder. "Not as something separate, but as part of me." "Lyra, is this normal? For a light-bearer mate bond?" "Yes." Lyra looked satisfied. "You're balanced now. His wolf instincts ground your power. Your light amplifies his strength. Together, you're what Marcus should truly fear." "Then let's not keep him waiting," Aria said, and her voice carried a new authority. "Show me how to use this. Fast." The training that followed was brutal and compressed. Lyra pushed them through exercises that would normally take months, forcing them to master control in hours. Aria learned to shape the light into shields, weapons, waves of pure force. Dane learned to channel it through his wolf form, becoming something faster and stronger than any normal shifted wolf. Most importantly, they learned to fight as one. Where Aria's power blazed, Dane's instincts guided it. Where his wolf fought, her light protected and enhanced. They moved like two parts of the same being, because now they were. "Enough," Lyra finally said. "You're as ready as you'll ever be. But remember, raw power isn't enough. Marcus has experience, cunning, and an army at his back. You'll need more than strength to win this fight." "What do we need?" Cashin asked. He'd been watching their training with professional interest, making notes. "Strategy. Allies. And most importantly, you need to understand what Marcus truly fears." Lyra looked at Aria. "He doesn't fear lightbearers because of their power. He fears them because they can expose the lies that hold pack society together. The idea that alphas rule by right of strength? That's propaganda. Alphas rule because the pack bonds allow them to. And lightbearers can break those bonds." Understanding dawned in Aria's eyes. "If I severed Marcus's bonds to his pack, he'd be nothing. Just another wolf with delusions of grandeur." Lyra smiled grimly. "But you have to get close enough to do it. And he'll have guardians, wolves sworn to die protecting their alpha. Getting through them won't be easy." "We don't have to fight them all," Dane said, his tactical mind working through possibilities. "We just need to create an opening. A distraction." "My father," Aria said suddenly. "If he's still alive, Marcus will have him as leverage. We rescue him first, then use that chaos to get to Marcus." "Your father is dying," Lyra reminded her gently. "Even if you reach him, he may be too far gone." "Then I forge another bond," Aria said with determination. "A different kind. A healing bond, like you described. I tie my life force to his, just enough to stabilize him." "That will weaken you significantly," Lyra warned. "You'll be fighting at half strength." "I'll fight at full strength," Dane said, moving to Aria's side. "That's what the mate bond means. We share everything, including the cost of saving her father." Sarah, who'd been silent through most of this, finally spoke. "How do we even get back there in time? It's 3 days travel, and you said Cade has maybe 2 days left." Lyra gestured to the archive doors. "This place exists outside normal space. The Deadlands touch many territories. I can open a path that will take you directly to the Blackthorn borders. But once you leave here, you're on your own. I cannot interfere directly in pack politics. We don't need you to, Aria said. She could feel the power humming through her veins, stable now instead of chaotic. We just need a chance to finish this. They gathered their few belongings. Cashin checked his weapons. Sarah wrapped protective charms around Aria's wrists. And Dane stood beside his mate, his wolf eager for the fight ahead. One more thing, Lyra said as they prepared to leave. She handed Aria a small crystal that pulsed with contained light. If things go wrong, if Marcus is too strong or you're overwhelmed, break this. It will summon me, and I will come. But know that if I have to intervene, it means you've failed. It means you weren't ready. We're ready, Aria said firmly. Through the bond, she felt Dane's agreement, his confidence in them. Lyra opened the archive doors, but instead of the garden beyond, there was a swirling portal of light. Through it, Aria could see the Blackthorn territory, could smell smoke and blood on the wind. Go, Lyra said. Save your father. Defeat your enemy. And show the wolf packs that lightbearers aren't something to be feared and hunted. Show them what we could have been if they'd never forced us into hiding. Aria stepped through the portal with Dane at her side, Sarah and Cashin following close behind. The world twisted, reality bending around them, and then they were standing in the forest at the edge of Blackthorn territory. The pack house was visible in the distance, surrounded by Ironjaw forces. Smoke rose from burning buildings. Bodies littered the ground, both attackers and defenders. And in the center of it all, chained to a post in the courtyard, was Cade. He looked dead already. His head hung forward, his body covered in wounds that should have killed him hours ago. But Aria could feel the faint thread of his life still burning, stubborn and refusing to extinguish. There, Cashin pointed to a group of wolves guarding Cade. That's our target. But Marcus is there too, waiting. This could be a trap. It's definitely a trap, Dane said. But we don't have a choice. Marcus emerged from the pack house, his massive form impossible to miss. He looked directly at them, as if he'd been expecting their arrival. The Lightbearer returns. His voice carried across the battlefield. How convenient. I was just about to execute your father to draw you out. You've saved me the trouble. His wolves moved into formation, surrounding the courtyard. Easily 100 fighters, all battle-hardened, all loyal to their alpha. Last chance, little spark, Marcus called. Submit now, and I'll make this quick. Your father dies clean, your pack gets absorbed into mine, and you become my mate without further bloodshed. Aria stepped forward, light beginning to glow around her hands. Dane moved with her, his wolf rising to the surface, enhanced by their bond. I have a counteroffer, Aria said, her voice carrying power that made even Marcus's veterans flinch. You leave. Right now. Take your wolves and go. And I'll let you live. Marcus laughed. You think you can threaten me? You're a child playing with powers you don't understand. Maybe, Aria said. But I'm a child who can see every bond that holds your pack together. Every thread of loyalty, every connection that makes them follow you. And with a thought, I can sever them all. The laughter died. Marcus's eyes narrowed dangerously. You wouldn't dare. Breaking that many bonds at once? You'd burn yourself out. Probably, Aria agreed. But you'd be nothing. Just another wolf, alone and powerless. Is that a risk you're willing to take? For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Marcus's face. And in that moment of doubt, Aria struck. Light exploded from her and Dane simultaneously, a coordinated assault that caught Marcus's guards by surprise. Wolves yelped and scattered as the power washed over them. Aria ran forward, using the chaos to reach her father. Cade's eyes opened slightly as she knelt beside him. Aria, he whispered. You came back. Always, she said, placing her hands on his chest. This is going to hurt. Both of us. She forged the healing bond, tying her life force to his. Pain lanced through her as his injuries became partially hers. She felt ribs crack, felt blood fill her lungs, felt the edge of death reaching for them both. But Dane was there, sharing the burden through their mate bond. The three of them connected in a triangle of light, spreading the cost so no single person had to bear it all. Cade gasped as life flooded back into him. His wounds began to close, his strength returning. And behind them, Marcus roared his rage and charged. The final battle had begun. Marcus hit them like an avalanche, his massive wolf form crashing into the healing circle with murderous intent. But he wasn't facing a vulnerable girl anymore. Dane intercepted him mid-leap, his own wolf enhanced by Lightbearer power, meeting the Ironjaw Alpha with equal force. They collided in an explosion of fur and light, rolling across the courtyard in a tangle of claws and fangs. Marcus was larger, more experienced, but Dane fought with something the Alpha couldn't match, purpose that went beyond ambition. Aria maintained the healing bond with her father, feeling his strength return moment by moment. Around them, the battlefield had descended into chaos. Blackthorn wolves, seeing their alpha rising from near death, rallied with renewed ferocity. The Ironjaw forces hesitated, confused by the light show and their alpha's sudden struggle. Enough of this, Cade growled, pulling himself to his feet. The wounds were still there, but no longer fatal. Aria, release the bond. I can fight now. Papa, you're not fully healed. I don't need to be. His eyes blazed with alpha authority. I just need to be strong enough to show these wolves who they're dealing with. Save your power for Marcus. He's the real threat. Aria released the healing bond reluctantly, feeling her strength surge back as the connection severed. Cade immediately shifted, his black wolf massive and commanding despite his injuries. He threw back his head and held, a sound that carried alpha command through every blackthorn wolf on the field. The response was immediate. His pack rallied, fighting with coordinated precision instead of desperate survival. The tide of battle began to shift. Marcus threw Dane off with brutal force, sending the young wolf crashing into a wall. Enough. The Ironjaw Alpha shifted back to human form, his voice carrying over the chaos. All of you, stop. This ends now, between Lightbearer and Alpha. Just her and me. The fighting paused, both sides stepping back. Marcus stood in the center of the courtyard, blood dripping from multiple wounds, his eyes locked on Aria with hatred and grudging respect. You want to prove you're not just a weapon? Marcus said. Then fight me. 1-on-1. You win, my pack withdraws. I win, you submit, and this territory becomes mine. Don't trust him, Cashin warned from the sidelines. He's trying to isolate you. I know, Aria said quietly. But she also knew this was the only way to end things without more bloodshed. Through her bond with Dane, she felt his reluctant agreement. I accept your challenge, Marcus. Aria, no, Sarah cried out. It's okay, Mama. Aria stepped into the clearing, light building around her hands. I know what I'm doing now. I know what I am. Marcus circled her, looking for weaknesses. Do you really think you can beat me? I've fought in 100 battles. Killed alphas stronger than your father. You're just a girl who learned to make light a few days ago. You're right, Aria said calmly. I'm not a warrior. I'm not a fighter. But I don't need to be. She reached out with her Lightbearer senses, seeing the bonds that connected Marcus to his pack. They were strong, forged through years of dominance and fear. But they were also brittle, held together by force rather than genuine loyalty. You rule through terror, Aria continued. Through making your wolves fear you more than they fear death. But fear isn't loyalty. Fear is just control waiting to break. Philosophy won't save you, Marcus lunged, faster than anything his size should move. But Aria was faster. Not because of wolf reflexes, but because Dane's instincts were hers now. She dodged, light flaring as she touched Marcus's shoulder. Just a brush, barely contact, but it was enough. She felt his bonds. Felt the connections that made him alpha. And she pulled. Not to break them completely. That would be too obvious, too destructive. Instead, she weakened them. Made them fragile. Turned absolute loyalty into questioning doubt. Marcus stumbled, feeling something fundamental shift in his connection to his pack. What did you do? I gave your wolves a choice, Aria said. They can follow you, or they can question why they follow someone who leads them to die for his personal ambition. Around the courtyard, Ironjaw wolves were looking at each other uncertainly. The absolute conviction that had driven them was wavering, replaced by doubt. You think breaking my bonds makes you strong? Marcus snarled. I don't need pack bonds to kill you. He charged again, but this time several of his own wolves stepped in his path. Alpha, one of them said hesitantly. Why are we really here? We've lost 30 warriors today. For what? Territory we don't need? A girl who doesn't want to be claimed? Because I command it. Marcus roared. That's not good enough anymore, another wolf said, and the rebellion in his voice spread like wildfire through the Ironjaw ranks. Marcus looked around at his fracturing pack, at the loyalty he'd built through fear crumbling in real time. Traitors! All of you! Not traitors, Aria said quietly. Just wolves who finally see they have a choice. That's what lightbearers really do, Marcus. We don't destroy bonds. We show people the truth of them. And sometimes the truth is that the bond should never have existed. Marcus turned back to her, and in his eyes was pure hatred. You've ruined me. Taken everything I built. I'll kill you for that. Bond or no bond, I'll tear you apart. He shifted fully, his massive wolf form lunging with the desperation of someone who had nothing left to lose. But Dane was there, intercepting him with perfect timing. The two wolves collided, and this time Dane didn't fight alone. Light channeled through him from Aria, their mate bond making them a perfect team. Where Dane struck, light burned. Where Marcus attacked, shields appeared. It was over in seconds. Dane's jaws closed on Marcus's throat, not killing but dominating, forcing submission. The Ironjaw Alpha, defeated by a boy he dismissed as beneath notice. Yield, Aria commanded, walking forward. Yield, and I'll let you live. You can rebuild your pack somewhere else, learn to lead with something other than fear. Or refuse, and Dane ends this permanently. Marcus struggled, his pride warring with survival instinct. Finally, he shifted back to human, Dane's teeth still at his throat. I yield, he choked out. Aria nodded to Dane, who released him and backed away. Marcus collapsed to the ground, defeated and broken. Ironjaw wolves, Aria's voice carried across the courtyard. Your alpha has yielded. The challenge is over. Take him and go. Find a better way to be a pack. They came forward slowly, helping Marcus to his feet. He looked at Aria with something between hatred and grudging respect. This isn't over, Lightbearer. Other packs will come for you. Other alphas who fear what you represent. Let them come, Aria said simply. I'm not hiding anymore. The Ironjaw pack retreated, carrying their wounded and their defeated alpha. The Shadowcrest and Bloodmoon forces, seeing how things ended, withdrew as well. None of them wanted to face a Lightbearer who could dismantle pack bonds with a touch. When the enemy wolves were gone, the Blackthorn pack erupted in celebration. Warriors held victory, embraced each other, wept with relief that they'd survived. Kate approached Aria, looking at his daughter with wonder. You did it. You saved us all. We did it, Aria corrected, gesturing to Dane, to Sarah, to Cashin and Elder Mara who was emerging from the pack house with other survivors. All of us together. Sarah wrapped her daughter in a fierce embrace. I'm so proud of you, baby. So proud. Elder Mara studied the mate bond mark on Aria's shoulder. A Lightbearer and her bonded wolf. That's a partnership the old text spoke of, but I never thought I'd see it manifest. What happens now? Dane asked, still in wolf form but his thoughts clear through the bond. Now we rebuild, Cade said. We heal. We show the other packs that Blackthorn is stronger than ever. He looked at Aria. And we stop hiding what you are. No more secrets. No more shame. You're my daughter, my heir, and a Lightbearer. Let the whole world know it. Over the following weeks, the Blackthorn territory transformed. Aria worked with her father to restructure the pack, eliminating the rigid hierarchies that made wolves like her suffer. She couldn't fix everything overnight, couldn't erase centuries of tradition. But she could start. Dane stood beside her through it all, learning to balance his warrior instincts with the light she shared with him. Their bond deepened from desperate necessity into genuine partnership, and eventually, something that looked like love. Sarah finally had the life she'd been denied, openly acknowledged as the mother of the Alpha's heir. She used that position to advocate for the Omega wolves, the weak, the different. The ones the pack had always overlooked. And Cashin? He stayed on as Aria's advisor, fascinated by the opportunity to document a living lightbearer and help her navigate the complicated politics of pack society. 3 months after the battle, Aria stood on the ridge overlooking Blackthorn territory. The pack house had been rebuilt. The wounded had healed. Life had found its rhythm again. Dane joined her, shifting to human form and wrapping an arm around her waist. Through their bond, she felt his contentment, his peace. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "The mate bond? Being tied to me forever?" Aria considered the question seriously. The bond had been born from desperation, forged in crisis. But it had become something real. Something good. "No," she said finally. "I don't regret it. You've become more than I ever expected. More than either of us expected." "You made me better," Dane said quietly. "Gave me a chance to be the person I should have been from the start." In the distance, young wolves were training, and Aria noticed something that would have been impossible before. A wolfless girl, maybe 10 years old, working alongside the others. Not mocked. Not excluded. Just accepted. "We're changing things," Aria said, wonder in her voice. "Really changing them." "You're changing them," Dane corrected. "I'm just along for the ride." "No," Aria leaned against him, feeling the solid strength of their bond. "We're changing them. Together. That's what mates do." The sun set over Blackthorn territory, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. And Aria Moonwhisper, daughter of an alpha, bearer of ancient light, stood with her bonded mate and looked toward a future she'd helped create. A future where being different wasn't a curse. Where wolfless children wouldn't suffer as she had. Where lightbearers could exist without fear. It was just the beginning. But it was a beautiful beginning. And she was finally, truly home. Thank you for joining Aria's journey from the despised wolfless girl to the powerful lightbearer who changed everything. If you loved this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from in the comments. More shifter romance stories coming soon.